We're in this series called The Kitchen, and when we knew that this was coming up, I thought of the perfect person to invite to come. And so Dave Rowe is here today, one of my good friends, a fellow ordained minister in the Wesleyan Church. And for those of you that don't know, we worked together here for like 6 years, and we had a lot of coffee and a lot of food. We know we know a little bit about the kitchen. And he can work in the kitchen, that's for sure. And some of you in Seniors Connect just got to experience him just about a month ago. And I think this is going to be a real treat for us. One of the reasons is because, there's certain people that are whatever it takes kind of people. What's necessary. Even this cross reminds me of an Easter and a vision that we had, and just something that Dave's like, whatever it takes, we're going to make this happen. And so I'm really looking forward to this. The idea is that the modern church has been a lot like a restaurant where it's all about just people come in and we're going to wait on you, and it's a few people doing it for everyone. What if it was meant to be more like a kitchen where people are actually serving one another? It's not just about the meal, but that's part of it, but actually a way to serve one another and go out from there. And so would you welcome Pastor Dave to the platform? He's going to bring the message today. Thank you, brother. Thanks, man.
All right, what's up, Crosspoint? How are you? Good. It is good to see you all here, and I am just a little bit excited about being here. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I get almost as excited about being here as I am when the Boston Bruins play the Montreal Canadiens and lose. Gilles, where are you? Where's my Montreal Canadian man? Is he here? Bordeaux? Yeah. You're welcome. We did that for you. I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, I really, really am excited about this and about sharing a few things on my heart concerning just being in the kitchen. And I love a good restaurant. You guys love good restaurants? McDonald's? And all, no, I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. But I really do, and it is it's wonderful to be even involved in the type of work that I'm in now, which really, in essence, is kind of like a kitchen. You know, in a sense, we have a bar. Behind that bar, we make incredible coffee, probably the best in the world. And, and I'm living in America where America runs on, no, it does not. Let me tell you, it runs on Hub Coffee is what it does. That's what it is. Anyway, so back in 2015, I had life really by the tail and was a youth pastor in Houlton, Maine, and then I got a phone call, and God just kind of said, you know what, you need to go to the country. You need to go home to the country. And over in 2015, we came to Crosspoint, Vicki and I, and had a chance to serve here in this church from 2015 to 2021, and man, it was a treat. It really was. Wasn't looking to head back across the states, wasn't looking to leave, and the Lord, again, had something else in mind, and I'm just like, whatever it takes, right? And off we went to become the general manager for a marketplace ministry that Framework Church had a vision about many years ago, long before, I think even before we left Houlton to come here. They were dreaming and just trying to get a sense of what the Lord had concerning maybe getting out into the community a little bit more than just the four walls, taking up space in the community that they attend church in. And so a lot of prayer, a lot of time brainstorming and just dreaming and everything brought Hub Coffee to a fruition. And so we kind of have a kitchen in a way. How many of you guys have been to Hub Coffee? A few of you have been. In fact, Suzanne was just up there. She and her husband, and they brought another couple. They walked in Thursday, I think it was. And I'm like, oh, my people, Fredericton, you're here. And they had a chance to spend, I think it was close to 2 hours. Not with me, but in the shop, drinking coffee and just enjoying everything about it. And then I had a chance to sit with them for the last 15 minutes or so. And it was really exciting to see that. But so how many of you were here at Seniors Connect and saw the Good. Okay, so there's enough of you that have seen it. I'm going to share with you the coffee shop. You ready? Here we go. Candace, can you bring those up? So there's the outside. That's me over there on the corner. And you can see we're missing a little bit of siding right here, but that was before. That's all done now. But this was back in 2022. And what's the next one? Let's go in the main entrance. So you walk into the main entrance. Now, let me just say this. Back up that one picture again. There you go. This is a 100-plus-year-old building. And when I arrived there, it was in a state of deconstruction. And they gutted the place all the way down to the boards. You could look out through the knotholes. No joke. And windows were not in place where they are now. I mean, it was incredible to see them. Like, what did we do? You know, we arrived at this, and it was a mess. And then all of a sudden, we began to work on it. And this is what has happened to it. So, also, let me just remind you that in a 100-year-old building, there's not one board in that building that is straight. It was just eyeballed, and it was like, good enough. Can't see it from my house. Good enough. And so anyway, I think that's what they did. But yeah, so this is the new main entrance. This wasn't there when I arrived, and we totally rebuilt that whole thing and put that onto the building. And then through the door, let's go there, and that's heading into the coffee shop from the main entrance, and there's the bar, the kitchen. So we do all of the fun things there. That wood is actually from Fort Fairfield. They cut it down, milled it, planed it, and then we had a guy come in and build it for us. And so that's kind of cool. Those of you that know Northern Maine, Fort Fairfield, crosses over to Perth Andover. So, yeah, and there's Vicki getting coffee. Yeah, it's just kind of our lobby area. We seat about 30 people inside, and then we have an enormous deck outside. And you want to talk about a good time. I'm telling you what. Doing ministry in a coffee shop is so much fun. It really is. And the conversations that we get a chance to have with people that come in, that's really what it's about. So let me just dive into where we're going to be. If you have your Bibles with you, we're going to be in John chapter 13. So you can get there, you can turn to it. If the power goes out, the one that never fails, right? You'll always have this word here. Or if you have your phone, you can maybe open up the Bible app to John chapter 13. That's where we're going to be. And, yeah, it's super, super exciting to be a part of this type of ministry, and it connects so well with the series that you guys are in. I think we're in week 5. Is that right, John? I think this is number 5. So let's do a quick review. So the first week, it was about what? Hands, right? You all understand that? Hands, that's a big deal. And it's whoever is around close, grab the dish, and let's get it out to the customer that ordered it. And so it doesn't matter who you are, what your responsibility is in the kitchen. It could even be the general manager or the chef. Probably not, but it could be that person that would just run it out and be able to bring it to you and present it to you. And so that's kind of cool. And then week 2 is what? It's French. Mise en place. Bleh. Bleh. I can't do it. I'll get Gilles up here. He'll make it happen for me, right? Is that good? Yeah, so, but what is that? It's everything in its right place, right? Or everybody in the right place, working together to make this become an incredible experience for the guests that are coming in, but also for those that are out and about as well. And so we want to know that. And then week 3 was all about staging and fishing a little bit and all of that, right? And so how we doing? We good? You remember all of these? Okay, good. And then last week, Pastor John had you in what book in the New Testament? What was it? Begins with R, not Revelation. Romans. Good. Excellent. Excellent. You guys are right on point there. So, Romans chapter 12, right? He spent some time there. And he just broke things down about how we need to serve really well. And we need to be at God's disposal, kind of in a way for whatever he wants us to do. Okay? You with me on that? Okay, and that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? We should be at his disposal for whatever he wants us to do, whatever he calls us to do, especially when it comes to dealing with being in the kitchen and making something happen to serve those around us. And so it's a big thing. And then when we are at his disposal to do whatever it is that he wants us to do, it's for the benefit of others. It's for the benefit of ourselves as well, because it's a pleasure to be able to do that. I love serving people. It's a pleasure. And so it's for my benefit too. I love it. You know, there's not a day, and I said this, I think I shared it with the seniors the weekend, or the weekday, Tuesday, right, back in October, that I share with all my staff, and we've got a staff of about 12 or so, 11 or 12 people that work in the coffee shop. We have high school students, we have university students, we have old people. I'm the oldest, okay? I'm the ancient one. And so it is kind of cool, but I tell them, listen, when we open up the shop, just before you do it, you need to pray. And so we have prayer every morning before we unlock the doors to the community. And part of that is I want them to pray that they would be the eyes, the ears, the hands, the feet, and if he so chooses, the voice of Jesus to people that come through the door. And it's very important. You might say, you know, it's kind of creepy and weird to have a coffee shop that's a Christian coffee shop. But it's not that weird and creepy in the sense that I don't want people in there with 45-pound King James Bibles. There's nothing wrong with those. They have their place, but not in the coffee shop there. I want them to be able to be just exactly what I said, the eyes, the ears, the hands, the feet, the voice of Jesus to our community. And it takes away a lot of barriers when you walk into a coffee shop. It really does. How many like going to coffee shops? Yes. Those of you that don't, let's have a chat after. We'll fix you. Because we don't all serve just coffee, right? I have smoothies, the best in North America. Yeah, I'm telling you, frappuccinos, I can make it happen. Tea refreshers. A little bit of a hint of peppermint in it. And oh my gosh. It's amazing. It really is. I could really, we need to get out of here. Time is ticking. I could just go down a big rabbit hole with coffee education, and it's just so much fun. But it is so much fun to be a part of something, to see how the Lord uses it in a real unique way. And I'm telling you what, you want to talk about some conversations that happen in that shop that never would happen, dare I say, even in a church necessarily. Because it's just a simple way to break down those barriers and just have a great cup of coffee, a great conversation, and let the people ask the questions. And then let the Holy Spirit do the work. I don't have to do much work, right? Except be obedient to let him work through me, right? I have to work hard, don't get me wrong. But it's really neat. And so this ministry was a vision that Framework Church, which is the Wesleyan Church in Presque Isle, had. And it's a marketplace ministry, kind of like Paul in a way. You know, you're out in the marketplace, and we're doing life together. And you know something, every one of us that are sitting in this room here right now, you are in your own specific, unique marketplace ministry. If you claim to know Jesus, I'm getting ahead of myself. I could close with this statement. I really could, and we could pray and you could leave, and that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? But seriously, when you take that whole aspect of being in a marketplace ministry mindset, wherever you work, wherever you go to school, and if you're retired, whatever Tim Hortons that you choose to sit in here, or whatever it is that you do, and I'm not dumping on that. I'm really having a little bit of fun with you. Man, we have an opportunity to minister for the King of Kings and to bring good things to the city, as well as pointing them to the hope of the world, right? Which is kind of your tagline, right? To make Jesus famous for the good of the city and the hope of the world, right? And that's what we are. That's what we're called to be every day, whatever we do. You're not off the hook just because you only come here on Sundays, right? You're on the hook Monday through Sunday, or Sunday through Saturday, whatever day you want to say is the first day of the week, right? You with me? And for those of you that are in school, you're not off the hook either. If you follow Jesus, you carry him into the schools. Who said God can't be in the schools, right? You can do it. You can live in such a way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that a little bit here. So we've covered all 4 weeks, and the 5th week, this one here, and I'm really excited about it, is that I want to build a little bit more on what Pastor John started last week. We're not going to be in Romans, though. We're going to be in John chapter 13. And it's really just two verses I want to share with you, although the Bible is full of many of them that point to this. But in John chapter 13, and it's in verse 34 and 35 that I want to share this with you. And I'm reading in the New Living Translation, but just listen to these words as I read down through this. So Jesus is speaking here, right? And it says, so now I'm giving you a new commandment to love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. Just exactly the way I love you, you should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Man, I don't know if you can get any clearer than that. Anybody got any issues with understanding these? Seriously, put your hand up if you do. Do you not understand what is being said here? Okay, you know how I am. I'm still the same way when it preaches. I like to engage you a little bit, okay? I was a teacher, you know that, for many years in high school, so I love it when I ask something and you just kind of respond back with me a little bit. So don't take this as a little bit of a dig, but are you good with this? You're okay with that? Do you understand what it's saying there? A little less. That's okay. Let's try this again. Can you bring those verses up again, Candace? Okay, so now I'm giving you a new commandment. So who's talking here? Jesus is. So love each other. Who does that mean? Who's he talking to? The disciples, right? So what are they supposed to do? It's pretty simple, right? We got this. Just as I have loved you. Now, who's the I? Good, yeah. Loved who? The disciples, which means also us. Good, you guys are working on this really well. Then you should love each other, okay? Just as the way I did it and showed you how to do it, you should do the same thing, okay? Now, it's real easy for me to love Vicky, right? And it's real easy for me to love my children, right? So it's real easy to love our families. But you know something? The church is considered to be a family too, right? And it's in that commandment, we're to love our church family, our brothers and sisters in Christ. Is that easy? Be honest. No. It's not easy to love your biological families either sometimes. Okay? Just ask those that are in my biological family how hard it is to love me sometimes. Anyway. But it's hard to love each other in church, right? We're all different. And a lot of us have different ideas and viewpoints and things like that. But Jesus didn't say, listen, love the way your viewpoints are. He said, no, love the way I love you, right? So that's a common way to love people, is how Jesus did it. And the way I read the scriptures is that he did it unconditionally. He did it selflessly. Not selfishly, but selflessly, right? So he taught us that way. And it's important for us to start right here in this family gathering and to work on it here, because when we leave and head out, oh my goodness, I'm getting ahead of myself. When we head out into the world, wow, I've covered the first 2 pages of my notes. That's good. When we get out into the world, it gets even a little bit more difficult, right? Because there's a lot more differing opinions and viewpoints and likes and dislikes and cool things and really weird things and about people, right? You with me? Okay. And so I want to help land with that a little bit concerning some of these things here. So I'm going to work down through the next few thoughts that I put down real quickly. And I want you to hang with me real quickly. So when we go into a restaurant, and everybody has been into restaurants before, right? You've all experienced how that is. Some of them are good, some of them not so good. Some of them are like, it's okay. I'd go back again. But, yeah. We want to know, really, when we go into a restaurant, though, heading into it, what's the service like, right? And so when I'm talking about the service, I'm not talking about, like, coming into the church and this is the restaurant, and so you say, well, what's the service like? It's not that. That's not what I'm getting at. What I really want you to understand is what is it that the people are working there are doing? What is it the people that are attending church, how is it that they provide for each other and for those that come in maybe to experience for the first time? And then how is it that they provide the service as being part of the kitchen staff of Crosspoint Church, all of you that attend here, out into the world, right? And so that is what we have to really hone in on for this. You've heard this from Pastor John over the last few weeks, and we're going to try to help you dig through this a little bit more, because to me, I want to go to a place where people will talk about the service in a good way at a restaurant, okay? It's very important. I want to know that the staff, particularly the wait staff, and then maybe even those that are out in the kitchen preparing, know and understand not just about how good the food is and how good they are at what they do, but what they are putting out is excellent and of top value, right? And the reason why they need to have a viewpoint of what they're putting out as top value is because they've got to believe in what they're putting out. And if they believe in what they're putting out, then I want that person, whoever it is, whether it's a wait staff walking up to your table or out in the kitchen, from the chef all the way down to those that are food prep ahead of opening up, getting everything ready, that they believe that they are doing their very best to bring the highest quality so that people will talk about it and come back, right? And that they will experience a personal experience in the restaurant beyond just coming in, hi, can I take your order? Great, thank you. Here's your food. Pay us, please. Bye. Right? I want every aspect to be felt for everybody. I want everybody in that restaurant to pay attention to cleanliness, right? I want everybody to pay attention to proper procedures. I want everybody to pay attention to following the chain of command. I want everybody to pay attention to engaging with each other and working together as a team. But most importantly, I want my people, everybody, to be able to walk out of the kitchen or walk over where they're bussing tables and to be able to come right down and say, hey, how you doing? Everything well? You doing good? And have that real personal experience with people and take the time to do it. Are you in any type of rush to eat your meal? Most times not. Why should I be in such a rush to get by you, right? I want you to enjoy it. I know you got to eat your food, but I want you just to take it easy and let's just really get to know each other and have that personal experience and engage with the customers. Man, that is a big deal with me at the coffee shop. I want my baristas, I want my people waiting on the point of sale cash register. I want my people doing the smoothie out in the lobby, whatever it is. I want them engaging with the people. Talk about real life, right? Coffee's a secondary at Hub Coffee. It's life, doing life together in the community and in the community of Prescott. That's really where we're at. And so I want my people to be well-trained and understand coffee education, just like a chef wants everybody to understand the menu and what it is, and maybe even have tasted it so they can have firsthand, information on that. It's a big deal. There are some drinks in my coffee shop that I'm not a big fan of, but I'm going to taste them, and I'm going to make them taste the very best they can. And then I want to be able to share with the other people that come in and say, what is this? And help them. Walk them through it. And then also what's really cool is I get to talk to Joe and Bill and Rebecca and, oh my goodness, get this one, Fabrizio. Like he's from Italy and he comes into our shop. Fabrizio, right? I mean, I'm almost bilingual. I can almost handle things that way, right? Who else? We've got Victoria, not my daughter, the other Victoria, actually 2 or 3 of them. We've got a Holly, and we've got a Brandon. I mean, I've got so many names in my head, I'm starting to get a little confused. There's so many of them. Christian is this guy that's probably 3 or 4 inches taller than I am. He's rugged as an ox, he's a professor at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, and he's my first Macedonian that I've ever met. He's from Macedonia, and he loves our coffee shop. So you see, we are the United Nations of coffee shops in the world. We've got Italians, we've got French, we've got Australians, we've got Macedonians, we've got people from Poland, we've got people from Canada. I mean, it's amazing. It's unbelievable. And we get a chance to be a marketplace ministry and reach the world for Jesus in Presque Isle, just like Fredericton does. So let's dig into that a little bit. But for me, excellent customer service is a big deal. And then also the experience in the restaurant, doing things well. And so I dare say that in the church, Jesus gave us a perfect example of doing things with excellence and doing things above well done, okay? And he is the one that we can go to pattern our lives after and how to do this. When we don't put our very best into all that we do, including the commandment from Jesus to love each other, just as I have loved you, and then he says you should love each other, your love for one another will prove to who? To the world that you are my disciples. It will prove. If you love each other this way that I have modeled out for you, then it will be proof to the world. So if you're wondering how, that's how, is that we need to be doing that as followers of Jesus. And this includes loving our Christian brothers and sisters and our neighbors. Love God, love others. Simple command. So the powerful meaning in John chapter 34 and 35 is a big deal. It's love one another as I have loved you. And it's a new commandment that Jesus is sharing, but it's incredible. So let's break those two verses down, and then we'll get you out of here so that you can go practice it, okay? Don't panic. Anybody going to do life when you leave this building? How many of you are going to do life when you leave this building? Every hand should be up. You're going to do life unless you're dead. Anybody dead out there? Dead tired. Yeah, but we're going to do life together, and so you're going to get a chance to go out and put this into action as soon as you leave here today. You really are. Sorry, not sorry. All right, so Jesus calls us to a life that values others and serves others and loves others above ourselves. Not only does he call us to live this way, he modeled it out for us. Yet I think if you take a moment, and I really understand this in a real unique way, many Christians fail to actually live this way, and they look no different from the world around them when they leave wherever it is. And I think that the meaning of John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35 is a very powerful reminder, and it also is a challenge for us to follow the example of Jesus. So how can we practically apply this to our lives? Glad you asked. Let's look at what led him to say these words in the context of those two verses, okay? And it's always a good thing that you understand the context of verses that you're reading and then putting them into action, right? It's really hard for me when people take a verse out of context. It really is. It bothers me to no end. Of course, it should, right? I'm an ordained minister. But what does that mean anyway? But really, when we misrepresent what the verse is really saying, man, that's not good. That leads people astray. And it puts false hopes and false ideas in people's minds and hearts. And I don't want to be a part of that, right? So let's not make Bible verses fit what we want them to be. Let's really live them out the way they are, because the Scripture is the living, breathing word of Jesus Christ, because he is the Word, right? And so he's not going to fail his words. He's not going to fail on those. And so I really want us to understand the context of this. So let's just pound through this in a big way. In John chapter 13, Jesus is getting increasingly closer to the cross, right? Like it's got a narrative and a story that's happening that is moving Jesus from proclaiming who he is to the point where he changes the entire world. Okay? I want you to hang on for that for just a moment. He's once again predicting his death in John chapter 13. And also in this is the betrayal of Judas, which happens in verse 30. And then as soon as all of those things happen, Jesus kind of shifts gears. And he begins to explain to the remaining disciples that are there with him what he expects during his absence. Okay? So he's not pulling any punches with them. He's like, this is what's going to happen. And I'm not going to be around. And so this is what I expect when I'm not around from you. Okay? This is what I expect from you. The disciples don't really understand the magnitude of this particular moment where Jesus is beginning to share these things. But in the coming days, they will begin to understand exactly what Jesus came to do and how everything is about to change. So the meaning of John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35 will take on a whole new life for them as soon as this happens, or a new way of life. And these words that Jesus says should carry with them some incredible weight. Every word should, but these ones particularly. We should be able to lean in on these words from Jesus about what he says is important and to understand and to live out this whole commandment. This passage should be one that every follower of Jesus, so if you're under that title here today, every follower of Jesus should have these memorized and should strive to live your life every day this way. These are central to what God is calling each of us to do. These words that were on the screen just a moment ago, that are in your Bible or on the screen in your device, they are essential for us to live out each day. It's a new command I give you, Jesus said. So let's break that down. Let's try to figure out what the meaning of that is. This command that Jesus is giving isn't completely new. If you read through the scriptures, you'll find that the Old Testament law carries a similar heart with it as to what we are going to see Jesus say next. A new command I give you. So that's basically saying, hey, listen, guys, pay attention. Okay? I really want you to get this. And so that's what Jesus is saying. And I want you to get it too, but that's what he's saying, okay, in this. A new command I give you. What's new is that Jesus is about to up the requirement from what the Old Testament law had. He's about to up it. So he's bringing it from mediocre service to next level service. Okay? And that's what I think we're trying to do here in this series, right? Is to get out of the mindset that to come in here and serve me and feed me and then I'm good and I'm out for the week, right? What we're trying to do is take it from this level to the next level, because you're here, but we want to go to the next level of service where it's like, whatever I can do to bring the reality of the life change and the hope of the world of Jesus in my life to everybody I come in contact with, not just the hired hands. Because church isn't really about coming and listening to the hired hands, right? And all of the things that go on in the church should not be on their shoulders only. They have a huge responsibility as teachers of the word and as leaders. However, so do we, right? You with me? This group is, you guys over here aren't. So I'm just saying, are you with me? Okay, good. All right. How are we doing over here? You're next, okay? I'm targeting you guys next. So anyway. No, but seriously. So what's the new example? He's about to up the requirement, but he's also going to lead by example through these verses. It's also new in the sense of it's part of the new covenant that Jesus is bringing in. And he ratified this new covenant by shedding his blood on the cross. So he made it legit when he did that. In the Old Testament covenant, the Old Covenant, if you will, righteousness was gained by living right. That's what it was. You lived right. You followed through all of the rules and the laws, and you did this, and you sacrificed this, and you washed this, and you separated for this time, and all of that, and right living. Now, it's not gained by that. Righteousness is not gained by that. It is now gained by Jesus' work for us, every one of us. And not just for us, but for all mankind of all time, past, present, and future. What he did just totally blew things out of the water. So we're still working on a new command I give you meaning, so you understand what it is. That's not to say that we shouldn't purpose righteous living. It's a good thing to do that in 2023. It really is, to live righteously. It's a good thing to do it. We should do that. But not to earn salvation or God's favor. We don't earn that. Okay? You don't have to jump through hoops to get it, right? It's not that. Rather, it's a response or in response to what God has done for each one of us through his son, Jesus. Okay? So that's what it means there. Jesus is introducing a new way of living. And he's entering into what God has for us. We are to enter into that new way of living. And that's what he has for us. So let's move on to the next part of the verses. Love one another as I have loved you. What's that mean? Well, let me help you out with it. So what is this new command that Jesus is sharing? It's love. Brilliant, right? What the world needs a little bit more is love. Love? Okay, I'm not going to sing that, but anyway. Okay, something John talks about a lot in his book is love. And not only that, but especially in chapter 13, he talks a lot about love, right? And the Greek word for love in John chapter 13 appears about 12 times in verses 1 through 12. But in verses 13 through 21, somebody has done the research, and it's close to 44 times in those verses beyond that. So you see how the ante got upped a little bit? So we're tracking with verse 1 through 12, and then we hit 13, and then it's like spikes. And so it's important for us to really zero in on what's being said there. So love one another as I have loved you. But it isn't any kind of love, right? Oh, I love you. You know, it's not that. Jesus tells us that we're to love as he loved. And so remember, he's about to go to the cross. And he's not going to the cross just because he ticks some people off. They think that's what it is. But this is all part of a plan, a master plan. An exceptional, fantastic, beyond anything we can think of plan. Before the foundations of the earth were even laid, this was in motion. Blows my brain to think about that. It doesn't take much to blow my brain, but I'm just saying, you think about that. That's enormous, the magnitude of what we're talking about here. And we're getting ready to head into a season that's going to help us to start to really focus on this master plan being brought to fruition. Okay? We really are. And so it really is, him going to the cross is the greatest act of love ever experienced by the entire world. Ever. And there's nothing that's going to match it from this point forward either, except when it happens in our lives and changes us. And that's on par with it, because that's what it's about. It's incredible. And so I want every one of you from here, right there. He was sweating for a minute right there. He's like, oh, he called on me. But from there, all the way back, all the way over to here to you guys and back, I want every one of you to experience that today. Even if it's just exactly, I need to be doing this. That's what I want. That's what we need to be. Just because you claim to be followers of Jesus doesn't get you off the hook. You don't shift it into neutral, right? And coast the rest of the way. Jesus didn't shift it into neutral, did he? No way. He did not. In fact, he exceeded it. And so this is the kind of love that Jesus is really wanting us to experience. Remember, he's about to go to that cross, that form of execution right there. And many of us as followers today would rather give people things that they deserve, right? Jesus didn't deserve that. but he did it. Okay? And a lot of times, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I want you to kind of stay with me on this. Man, oh man, oh man. He's about to go to the cross. It's the greatest act of love. And it's to this extent that we are to love those around us. Did that sting just a little bit? It does to me when I think about I'm supposed to die on a cross for somebody. Figuratively speaking, we are to take that on. And we are to live in such a way that that is done. In other words, he didn't have to do this. Jesus displayed his love for us by going to the cross willingly. And therefore, we're to love others around us with this sacrificial type of love. Jesus sacrificed himself for us. Okay? Hard to think, especially if you've not been in church a lot. And all this language that we speak about is weird. It is, I will admit it. But it's also amazing. It's amazing. It really is. So anyway, I want to remind you of all of that. Okay? It's a reminder today that we need to be about that. So we've covered a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. The next part is, by this they will know that you are my disciples. So let's understand the meaning of that in these two verses. Okay. Trying to whip down through this quickly. Today, those of us who are Christians, followers of Jesus, are known for a lot of things. We are. Dare I say, our love is not normally at the top of the list? Dare I say that? I'm embarrassed sometimes with how I am. A lot. I'm embarrassed with how other people who claim to be followers of Jesus are, that I read about, that I hear about. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot to be wrong with that. But I'm embarrassed about it, and I just shake my head. I have experienced the very words of something like that coming out of people's mouths in the coffee shop about the coffee shop being owned by the church. Let me tell you some of the conversations I've experienced. And it's embarrassing, but you know what? It's kind of fun too, in a way, because then I tell them, well, I'm an ordained minister in the church. Oh, what? You are? But it's so cool too to be able to have a conversation with people about some of the things that they've heard about when it comes to the followers of Jesus. And they keep coming back into the shop. And we begin to see little differences and changes in their life. Because there's no necessarily expectations on my part to just pound it into them and to tell them what's wrong with their lives and all that. I just want to be an example of loving them like Jesus would love them. Isn't that a novel idea? To love everybody that comes through our doors the way Jesus would? Listen, this is not a dig at you. It's just a reminder. Jesus said these words, and this is what we're to do. I would dare say there would probably be close to 25 or better occupations in this room. Right? Just guessing. Students, you get to have the occupation of being a student, okay? Some of you may be working in engineering or law or the ministry or nursing or in management with wood products or truck drivers or real estate agencies. You know, you get the picture, right? A lot of us. Right? Anybody work in a coffee shop? I work in a coffee shop, right? So there's a lot of occupations that we have when we work through these things. And Jesus wants us to be able to say, by this, they will know that you are my disciples, wherever you are. Wherever you are. Even if it's in a hospital as a nurse or whatever it is, right? or if you're retired and have that occupation, right? Man, we have to be so aware that everything we do and say, wherever we are, that we're bringing Jesus in this. By this, these people will know that you're my disciples. Today, Christians are known for a lot of things, not normally at the top of a list. But the meaning of this challenges us, and there is a big challenge in it. It's our sacrificial love that should be the distinguishing thing for followers of Jesus. That's what should set us apart. That's what should distinguish us, right? Yeah, and God help us in that, right? He can. We're followers of the Son of God, Jesus, who gave his life, not because we deserved it, but because we needed it. But today, many of his followers would rather give people what they deserve, right? I want to stick it to the man, right? Or I just cheer it on when people get hard things done to them. I get it. I understand it. We've got some work to do. I've got some work to do. If you're a follower of Jesus, then people should be able to look at us and look at how you love and know who you follow. You okay with me on that? Okay. If you're a follower of Jesus, then people should be able to look at that and know. We love because we were first loved. If you love one another, let's find out what that means a little bit. Really, this command is simple. It's really easy to understand, but man, it is hard to live out. Loving people is messy, isn't it? How many of you are with me? Loving people is messy. Mm-hmm. Some of you had both hands up. I get it. I understand that. They're difficult and they're messy people, okay? But let's not forget, we are too. I am a difficult, messy person. I really am. And despite our brokenness, Jesus still loved us. That's just how he was and who he is. And he went to the cross because we were broken and messy. And when we love people, particularly difficult and messy people, we are showing those around us that the love of Jesus is in us when we do that. Doesn't matter who they are. We need to be doing it. And it's how we set ourselves apart from the world, because the world wants to stick it and give it to them, right? Give them what they deserve. So if you love one another, the world's going to know that you follow Jesus. How to apply it? 3 things. So I want to end this by looking at those, okay? 3 practical ways that you can love one another as Jesus loved you. It's not an exhaustive list, but nonetheless it is. It's a way that the world is going to start knowing him by the way you love them. So number 1 is to live by grace. Simple. Give people grace. How many of you like to be extended grace? Man, I need it. I need a lot of grace extended to me. I really do. When Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment was, he gave 2. It's pretty simple. It's 5 words. It's not 5 words in the scripture, but it's 5 words to help you keep it simple. The first part was love God, right? And then, and love others. Love God and love others. There's a reason Jesus listed love God first. You cannot give away what you don't have. God gave us the most incredible gift of love. If we want to love those around us, then we need to first understand the love that God has for us. You okay with that? You understand that? Don't just say yes because you think that's the right answer. Okay? If you don't, come see me after or come see Pastor John. Anyway, our love for God is shown by how we love those around us, and if you want to live that out, this chapter and these 2 verses are an excellent meaning. And then you need to live in God's grace. Live in God's grace. He's given it to you, so live in it. You need to understand that God has done for you what God has done for you so that you can do the same for other people. He shows you grace. Now you go and show others that. Number 2, put down your rights. Put them down. Okay? It's a little edgy for me, this one here, but we need to be able to do that. One of the top things that the church is known for in our country, and I think it is North American wide, is that we need to fight for our rights. Right? It's true. It's become our battle cry. So it's edgy for me even to get into this. But we follow Jesus, who didn't fight for his rights. He gave those up willingly. And he laid down his life willingly. I think that's the same. Now, I'm not saying that there's no place for us to stand up for what we believe is right. Right? Okay? Don't muddy that. But we need to understand it. Our chief concern shouldn't be preserving our rights. When Jesus said, "They will know us by our love, and love one another as I have loved you," he meant this should be what we are known for, period. And yes, we could lose some of our rights in our country if we shifted our focus, absolutely. But I think we would begin to see a revitalization of people coming to know Jesus if us, as followers of Jesus, just stopped fighting for our rights and started loving our neighbors. Number 3. See, it's the last one. We're there. Serve those around us. Maybe the primary way to live out the meaning of John chapter 13 is to serve. And if we want to do this, our love should be visible to those around us. We have to place ourselves above others. And listen, we should do it with excellence. Way beyond. We should be the most incredibly excellent, loving people the world has ever known. Next to Jesus. We should be. We need to start to get there because this world, man, have you watched the news? Have you listened? Some of you are like, nope, good job. Man, it's ugly. It's a rough world out there right now. If Christians stayed centered on themselves and their own needs, then what they're doing is they're leaving Jesus behind. And they're going to miss out on an incredible life. Okay? Don't miss out on this. God has an incredible thing, and he doesn't want us to fail. Doesn't want us to fail at making a meaningful impact in people's lives, because you may be the one that Jesus uses to be his hands, eyes, ears, feet, and sometimes voice, to make a meaningful impact in people's lives. It's not you, it's the work that he does through you, right? Wow. Let's just leave it at that. Call this good. What do you think, Pastor John? Is that good? You okay with that? All right. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 13, these 3 things will remain forever. What are they? Faith, hope, love. And what's the greatest? Man, you got it. And above all, in 1 Peter it says, above all, love each other deeply. Not just in the walls of the church, but outside too. Love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sin. Right? Those are ways that we can build a bridge to our community. That's what Hub Coffee is doing. It's building a bridge to our community. C.S. Lewis said this: he loved us not because we're lovable, but because he is love.